Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Hensing. Katarina's away tonight. Here's what's making news right now.
I decided to fast this year because I thought I can make my parents proud. I can get more close to my God and all of that.
Well, it needs care. It needs care and consideration on the growth of the village. As we grow into a tourist destination.
How are we able to provide more tools, more support, more empowerment to women?
We start tonight with a focus on crime in Windsor. Police say they're working to address youth violence in our community, calling programs to address the problem a priority. I spoke with families still grieving loved ones that were killed. They say change in our community isn't coming fast enough. Justin Greenwood was 20 years old, a father of two young daughters, when he was stabbed and killed on Tecumseh Road West in Windsor nearly 3 years ago. This memorial marks the spot with messages of love.
He was a son, he was a grandson, he was a father. He was a whole lot more than what other people know.
But his grandmother says the days following his death were filled with incorrect assumptions.
At first I would get very angry. Like, how and why would you say those things? And then I came to realize, like, okay, like I kind of get it, because to imagine anything else is just unfathomable, like that somebody would just go kill somebody. We sometimes, I don't know why, but we like to blame the victim, like they must have done something, it was their fault.
Darian Moffat's mother felt the same pain when her son was shot and killed at 18.
It was the comments that were being said that were concerning, basically blaming me for, who he was hanging out with. And that I found to be, very insensitive and very frustrating. I tried to get him help in every way, shape, and form that I could. And the help just wasn't there.
In both cases, police charged young adults, no one older than 19. Windsor Police recently prioritized programs to address youth violence in the city.
This isn't the city that I grew up in. I have no idea the reasons. I think some things, there's not enough support for these kids.
There wasn't really a program specialized in helping him, and the ones that there were long waiting lists for.
Both worry the justice system is slow and soft.
It's like a revolving door. These kids will get caught, doing something, usually at a youth level, and then it just progresses into adult. And now we're seeing even younger kids committing crimes.
They just don't care. They just don't care. I don't know where the empathy has gone. I don't know. I guess if I had the answer to that, we could fix things a little bit, right?
They say the community can help create change.
As a community, speaking out and trying to be there for one of your peers struggling, or you see a teenager struggling, try and be there for them.
It can also change how it reacts to this violence.
Try to erase the stigma of these murdered children as they were gangbangers, or there was this, or in some kind of way they asked for it or deserved it.
We have more of that story on our website as well, cbc.ca/Windsor. A reprieve for hundreds of workers at Windsor's minivan plant. The second shift, which was slated to end in 2 months' time, has been extended to the end of the year. Video producer Mike Evans spoke with workers at the plant, one whose job is on the line, another an electrician on the floor.
I work as an assembler here. I've been here about 6 years, so it's just nice to see some more good news with the battery plant, and we're hoping to hear about new products soon, and because we were promised that we'd be a 3-shift operation once again soon.
So after 6 years, would you have been directly impacted by the elimination of a second shift?
By the impact of the second shift, yeah, I would be. I barely made the cut for the third shift. So I made it by the skin of my teeth. I have a lot of friends that are on layoff. I have a lot of friends that are working intermittently, on again, off again. It's frustrating for people, especially for people with young families and stuff like that. Everybody just wants to be able to know that they can come to work 52 weeks in a year.
I think it's great news. A lot of people depend on these jobs, so extending it, and hopefully maybe it'll stay here until some new product comes or something that we can keep everybody working. I mean, now you get a paycheck till December. It's pretty good.
This is the second extension that's been given to that second shift. Last fall, Stellantis announced that the plant would go down to one shift this spring. It blamed the staff reduction on the shortage of semiconductors and pandemic factors. In February, the company said that it would keep the second shift until the end of June, now pushed to the end of the year. If the second shift is eliminated, 1,800 employees are expected to lose their jobs. A new program aims to help Mexican women in Windsor, Essex launch their business. It's a partnership between the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Center with the Mexican Consulate in Leamington. Organizers hope that this will lead to more women-led businesses in the region. The program first started as a pilot in October. 3 women took part.
I thought it was time to expand. I thought that I had potential here in the area, but I didn't know where to start. I had no idea where to start. So I had been procrastinating that step until I was approached by the Mexican consulate, and it was amazing. When we are supported like that, we're unstoppable, and we feel really empowered, and we start becoming more independent.
How are we able to provide more tools, more support, more empowerment to women? And I think that the best way to do that is to bring to their attention information that can help them make choices for them.
The program will be offered online in English and Spanish. It will teach participants career basics from creating a business plan to managing their finances. The anticipated launch date is this fall. Ontario's Liberal Party is promising a tax break on any prepared foods under $20, including restaurant meals. It would mean the province's wealthiest would foot the bill. Lorenda Redicott has the details.
The Ontario Liberals want to remove the provincial portion of the HST from prepared foods, meaning you'd pay 8% less for items like grocery store rotisserie chickens, drinks, fast food, and restaurant meals, as long as it's less than $20.
The exemption right now stops at $4. We're going to raise that up to $20. And again, that's going to make life so much more affordable for people in this province of ours.
He expects it would cost the government around $500 million. To pay for it, people earning at least $500,000 a year would face a 2% income tax hike. Large corporations earning at least $1 billion would pay an extra 1%.
And if you look at the data in Ontario, the most wealthiest don't pay that much if you compare to other provinces. The tax rate is it's among one of the lowest.
This political scientist says the risk is that it could be seen as trying to buy votes from the middle class. But given inflation and higher food costs, she says the timing could also work.
It's the first time that I see the Liberals saying we will tax the wealthiest. We saw that at the federal level with Justin Trudeau, and it was popular.
The NDP leader says it's the former Liberal government that first added the HST for all prepared food items $4 and up.
That was a Liberal decision that at the time we didn't support. We can't trust the Liberals to do the right thing in the first place, and we've seen them hurt families over their 15 years in office.
The Progressive Conservatives responded in a statement giving a list of tax increases under the previous Liberal government and showing times Liberals voted against their government's tax cuts. It's clear the election campaign is already on. The official call is expected to come next week. Lorenda Redicott, CBC News, Toronto.
There are growing hopes civilians and soldiers will be able to safely leave a besieged steel mill in Mariupol, Ukraine. It's thought that there are hundreds, even thousands of people still inside the sprawling complex, but there are now growing worries about Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. After about 2 weeks of relative calm, it's come under fire again. And once again, civilians appear to be the targets. CBC's Ellen Morrow has the latest.
Destruction in the heart of Kyiv, the aftermath of a Russian missile strike that gutted the lower floors of this residential building. People would have been at home going about their evenings when the war came to their apartment. This young couple, Olga and Misha, only moved in 2 weeks ago. They tell us they now have hate in their hearts for the Russian forces who launched the attack. Russia's defense ministry says the strike used precision weapons to destroy a nearby factory making rockets. Its statement ignored the carnage here. One resident was killed, Ukrainian journalist Vera Herich. her body removed from her home this morning. It is really difficult, this resident named Ludmila says. I just can't anymore.
The timing of the strike was brazen, happening while UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres was here in Kiev. The UN says one of the missiles fired at the city landed not far from Guterres' hotel.
This says a lot about Russia's true attitude to global institutions, said Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in his nightly address. Kiev's mayor visited the site, reminding residents that nowhere is truly safe.
Kiev's still a dangerous place, and Kiev's still the target of Russians.
So is so much of this country. In Mariupol, the horror continues at the Azovstal steel factory. Dozens of civilians remain trapped inside with the last Ukrainian forces in the city. Fighting is raging across the east and south. Russia seemingly intent on taking as much land as it can in this renewed offensive. And willing to strike terror in the Ukrainian capital. Ellen Moro, CBC News, Kiev.
As COVID masking restrictions ease, cases of influenza have been going up, even though spring isn't typically flu season. Experts worry about the effect on the country's pandemic-strained healthcare system. Lauren Pelly looks at what that means for Canadians.
In this busy Toronto emergency department, it's not just COVID-19 bringing people in.
This is a recurrence of deep vein thromboses.
Dr. Leon Rivlin says after a long lull, influenza is finally back.
Overall, we're seeing an uptake in the number of flu-like illnesses.
That's pushing patient volumes up, all while COVID infections are keeping a high number of staff homesick.
It's definitely putting a big strain on us. There's no question about it.
Millions of Canadians became infected with COVID over the last 2 years, while relatively few people got the flu.
We were able to successfully suppress influenza circulation with our other public health measures related to COVID-19.
But in recent weeks, with restrictions lifted, positive tests for influenza began rising across the country. It's a late start for flu season, yet infections are now nearing typical levels.
The question now is what the future holds for flu and COVID. Medical experts aren't sure how these two viruses will interact in the years ahead.
And I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens as COVID begins to get less and less dominant if influenza starts to compete with it and they have a tug of war over the next couple of years.
Canada's influenza season typically starts in the fall and spikes in the winter. But if COVID waves rise and fall multiple times a year, that could impact when flu viruses strike.
Will SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19 cases become more seasonal? If they do, we might see a different pattern of influenza.
COVID and flu are both expected to fade as the weather warms up.
And then come the fall, we're going to have this upsurge again. And once again, we're going to be strained for our human resources.
Dr. Rivlin says the upcoming summer lull is when governments and hospitals need to prepare. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Our region has lost another 2 lives to COVID-19. They include a man in his 90s, a woman in her 70s. With that said, hospitalizations are falling. Currently, 51 patients are in hospital due to the virus. Earlier this week, there were 74. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Moderna will build a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Quebec that promises to create hundreds of jobs.
Being able to produce made-in-Canada mRNA vaccines is not just important for COVID-19 or for future pandemics. It also will have a significant impact in the research that they're doing on a range of illnesses. We talked about Alzheimer's, we talked about cancers.
Construction set to begin this year. The facility expected to be operational by 2024. Once it's complete, it will be able to produce up to 100 million mRNA vaccine doses annually. Since the start of the pandemic, Canada has imported more than 29 million doses of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine. Its doses are authorized for everyone 6 years and older. The drug maker currently seeking Health Canada approval to offer shots for kids between 6 months to 5 years old. The village of Erio in Chatham, Kent is transitioning from an industry-based community to a tourism and recreation-based community. Now, with that comes growing pains. Access to the beach and the high cost of housing are some of the concerns that have come up in an online survey of residents. Dale Molnar went to Erio today to find out more about the future of Erio.
Well, I'm standing here in the center of the downtown area here of Erio. You can see behind me the Oh Boy restaurant, and this used to be a motel here. It's now a brew pub, and there's a restaurant down here called Molly and OJ's where I had lunch. So there are business people here, but there are residents, about 400 permanent residents. The place swells to about 1,200 in the summer, and some of that congestion is a concern in terms of looking toward the future of Erio. The Strategic Planning Committee has had a survey online to find out what people think about the future here, what they can do to make sure that everything's sustainable. So they're going to have this meeting at their community center tomorrow to share the views of people who have gone online and said what they like to see here. They're going to take that information, analyze it, and eventually take it to Chatham-Kent Municipal Council and to see if they can convince council to spend some money around here to make sure that the future growth of Erio goes smoothly. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Erio.
Here, Dale mentioned the chair of the Strategic Planning Committee. They say that some of the growing pains include the increase in short-term rentals, which bring a revolving door of new faces to town and result in parking issues as well as congestion.
Airbnb is actually one of the terms that people use, but that's just a company that provides, short-term rentals. But yeah, it's short-term cottaging versus what Erio used to be. It was always full-time residents and then all season cottagers that would be here all summer. Where now you're seeing it transition to a lot of short-term rentals, the 1 and 2 week rentals.
There's some concerns about the way it's growing and the people here.
No, I mean it's people are doing what they're doing, and people want to get away from Toronto and different areas, and they're buying down here, and more power to them.
Ramadan, a month of fasting and spiritual reflection for Muslims, is about to wrap up. Children not required to fast until they hit their early teens, but younger kids can opt in. CBC's Asa Shetty spoke to some young students about that experience, including some for whom this Ramadan was their first time fasting.
Wanted to know how the poor people feel.
And what did you learn?
How to be patient and how to be generous and how to give poor people more money.
What's the hardest part?
Is that I have to wait till nighttime. I have to wait till nighttime.
What did it help you learn fasting for the first time?
To be patient, and other people, how they don't have, poor people, they don't have food.
Your first time fasting. Tell me why you decided to fast this year.
I decided to fast this year because I thought I can make my parents proud. I can get more close to my God and all of that.
And what did you learn?
I learned to be generous and kind and nice and feel how other people feel without food. It makes me feel connected because, in our holy book, it says, if you fast, you have more good deeds and you'll be way more closer to God.
The children at Annur Private School have been celebrating Ramadan with lots of fun activities. One of those is a competition between classrooms to see who can decorate their homeroom doors most beautifully. Clearly some competition there. Students putting up lights and colorful decorations. Staff at the school say activities like this have helped students feel more connected and enthusiastic about Ramadan.
So we like to make sure for them to understand why we do it. There are many, many people around the world, even in Windsor, people who are hungry, people who don't have enough to eat, people who don't have enough of anything really, whether it's shelter or food or anything. We want them to understand that just because they have a full belly at night, that other people don't. So they understand and they can be empathetic, they can be patient, they can be understanding, they can be generous because this is a month of giving.
Muslims are across the world expecting to break their fast on Monday morning, and that's going to mark the start of Eid celebrations. Take a live look outside where a couple folks are enjoying a walk along the river. Sunny. and warm on the weekend? Nah. We'll check the forecast next. After a rocky start to the week, finally some finer weather out there. A perfect day for a walk in the park. Might have noticed that the leaves are starting to pop out on those trees. With all the rain, well, you know, we got grass looking green, looking lush. To find out what's in store for the weekend, we turn to Kim McDonald.
Well, they say April showers bring May flowers. We've got April and May this weekend, and we've got some showers, but we also have some sunshine too. A little bit of everything. Lots going on this weekend. The Home and Garden Show is happening this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And by the way, 16 and under is free. That's good. Bring your kids. I know your 16-year-olds are going to want to go if you're anxious for spring and maybe summer. But also if you're still hanging on to winter a little bit, we've got the Spitfire game on Saturday night. Hopefully they clinch the series against Sarnia, so we'll see what happens. They had a big crowd last time, 4,300. Let's get to the weather, shall we? If you're trying to get out into the garden, might be a little bit early for that, but at least you can get out, do a little raking. Temperatures are about seasonal. So we have the showers moving in for the mid-afternoon on Saturday, but they're not going to be intense. So some light rain showers across the southwest in the afternoon, but it's really through the overnight that we're looking at the heavier rainfall. So the first part of the day, great day to get out, maybe walk the dog, do what you need to do. Here comes that cloud cover. We're just getting a weak warm front moving through. There are the showers. Again, nothing heavy, but a little more intense through the overnight. This is what it looks like from a big picture perspective. Again, that's a low pressure system that's really impacting northern Ontario and Manitoba, and we're just getting a little bit of it, not much of it, along that front. Again, through the day on Sunday, the weather's going to improve. So it's kind of the opposite of Saturday. The morning starts off with showers, and then as we get through the afternoon, temperatures are going to rise. We're looking at daytime highs around 21 degrees in Windsor, and I'm thinking that you can get out for a barbecue by Sunday evening because it should be all cleared up by then. This is a look at your long-range forecast. So temperatures do stay around the seasonal average, if not slightly warmer. We've got Monday, mix of sun and clouds, 18 degrees, pretty decent day, and then back into the rain on Tuesday. So a little bit of everything this week, sun, showers, sun, showers. Get out and enjoy.
Dressing in layers, that's always the key to surviving a weekend in the spring out here. The PEI government has a new name for a Canadian landmark. We'll take you there next.
home.
If the PEI government has its way, a Canadian landmark will be getting a new name. When the bridge connecting Prince Edward Island to New Brunswick was being built in the 1990s, the committee recommended the bridge be named Abaguit Crossing. That's the anglicized version of the Mi'kmaq name for what's now known as PEI. But the federal government chose Confederation Bridge instead. Today, the PEI legislature voted unanimously to urge the federal government to change the name to Abaguit Crossing, which is the original Mi'kmaq word. Tourists everywhere want to be photographed, and a youngster is turning that to profit in one of the world's most exotic landscapes. All right, it's not roaming blue dinosaurs making it exotic. It's southwestern Bolivia's salt flats. Tourism dropped significantly because of the pandemic. So the 11-year-old photographer's earnings helped support his family in addition to giving him some pocket money. Now, the dinosaurs, if you're wondering, it's a Spinosaurus. That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Thanks for watching.